Hi, my name is Camille Frederick, and I am currently a Year 2 Culinary Arts student at THCI. This is my video journal based on what was done in week 7 of kitchen organization. In this video, I will be evaluating the importance of environmental impact analysis of lighting, color, sound, air conditioning, heating, and smoke extraction. I will also be speaking on the impact on the design and renovation of the student training labs at the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, otherwise known as THCI or Hotel School in Tobago. Analyzing the environmental impact at the student training labs is a strategic necessity. In a hospitality training environment, it isn't just supposed to be about comfort. It's supposed to be about stimulating real-world industry experiences and standards. So these are some of the factors which should be improved when redesigning and renovating student labs at THCI. To begin, we'll speak on lighting. In our student lab, lighting is very important, not just to be able to see what you're doing, but for safety purposes, as well as for experience purposes. Using LED systems would help to not only reduce operational costs, but also to reduce the overall heat in the kitchen. Next, we have color. When speaking about color, this deals with how big the size of the room is, or rather, how big the room is perceived to be. Depending on the color in the room, it could make the room either feel smaller or a lot larger. And this is extremely important as it will determine how things are placed in the room to make it feel less clustered. White neutral colors are usually standard for hygiene purposes as well as to ensure the proper color of the food is visible when plating. When renovating and redesigning the lab, light colors will be more suitable as these would reflect more light and reduce the need for high energy bulbs, which would connect back to the lighting analysis. However, bold accent walls could be used to differentiate zones in labs, such as maybe you'd want to use one color for the dessert section in the lab, then another color for the entry section, so that each section is purposely colored to designate a certain section per each course. When concerning sound or sound control in a hospitality environment such as the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, it is extremely noisy, especially when services are going on and a lot of things are taking place in the kitchen, such as a lot of pans being moved around, a lot of blenders making noises, a lot of mixers. There's just overall a lot of noises in the kitchen, and this could seriously impact how the guests have their experience. Without the proper acoustics or means of blocking out the sound, the lab will become more of a chaotic environment where sometimes students cannot even hear when instructions are being given. So when redesigning and renovating the lab, some things that should be taken into consideration are different noise disruption tools, such as insulation systems or maybe even using items that wouldn't make as much noise. If the route being taken to items that make less noise is more expensive, at that point it would just be up to you to decide which is more important, the cost of the item or customer experience, as well as being able to hear what is being said to you. Sometimes in the student labs at THCI, we would put on events where students would have to produce their own events completely from the start to finish. This is an essential part of the course, and one of the many issues can be noise in the kitchen affecting dining experiences when guests come in to dine. To wrap up sound, some things that should be taken into consideration are installing proper sound insulation in the walls so that noise from the kitchen or sometimes even from the bar does not disrupt dining experiences or would allow persons to be heard clearly over the noise. For our fourth topic, we'll be speaking on air conditioning. Air conditioning in a hospitality training institution, especially in the Caribbean, isn't just a want. It's essential because a kitchen is a place that can become very, very overheated, especially in times where there are a lot of persons in the kitchen or there are lots of things being done in the stoves and in the ovens. It could just become really overheated, and air conditioning is truly a lifesaver in that kind of situation. When placing these systems, you should carefully consider some things, such as if you have a pastry lab. The pastry lab is supposed to be considerably colder than everywhere else because baked items, confectionery items, and cold dessert items are supposed to be kept at a significantly low temperature, especially for dessert items on the cooler side where you need it to be at a certain temperature even whilst you are preparing it and not just whilst it's in the fridge setting. Because we are on a Caribbean island and a very small one at that, something that should most definitely be taken into consideration is ensuring that the air conditioning units are treated for salt air corrosion. So this would ensure that after renovation, the system would still last more than just a few years. For our last topic of the day, we will be speaking on heating and smoke extraction. Given the tropical heat in Tobago, managing the output of thermal heat is extremely important. It is a top priority, especially in a place where there are lots of industrial ovens being used. It's just going to get very, very, very heated. This is one of the most crucial factors that should be taken into consideration when building or even renovating a hospitality training lab, so that the extraction system is one that would effectively remove smoke and excess heat from the kitchen. Because if the kitchen gets smoky, a lot of bad things can happen. If the kitchen gets too hot, it could also cause a lot of other issues. So the kitchen must maintain a temperature where it is easily breathable to prevent accidents from happening, such as fainting. When renovating, upgrading to hoods that have a high efficiency or variable frequency drive is something that should be considered for the lab. It should be one that would adjust based on the amount of cooking taking place, because you don't want that you buy a really small one and then you have a lot of cooking happening and the system just gets overwhelmed and it doesn't end up working out for you. It would just end up costing you more money. This would also prevent the so-called negative pressure effect, where the kitchen would suck the air conditioned air out of other rooms in the building. And that was it for my presentation. I just want to say thank you for listening to my presentation on the importance of environmental impact and analysis of lighting, sound, heating, and smoke extraction and air conditioning, as well as the impact upon the design and renovation of the student training labs at the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, otherwise known as THTI or Hotel School Tobago. Thank you for listening once again. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and really and truly learned something from it. Kitchen organization has really been a course for me that has shown me how a kitchen should be organized, from design layout to equipment that should be bought. All of these things kind of tie in together. So I was very pleased to be able to make this journal documenting what we would have basically covered up until week 7. And thank you for listening once again. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation and view the rest that I know my colleagues would have made based on other weeks in this semester. Thank you for listening once again.